Hello everyone, this is Wager Detective here, May 22nd, 2026. Follow Wager Detective on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, and we got a great game to cap here today. Not really teams that are playing that well, but it's early afternoon baseball, and Wager Detective is going to try to give you the edge to cash on this game. So, let's talk about it. The Astros this year, they are 20-31 on the year. They're 8-17 on the road. They're 4-2 in one-run games this year, and they're 4-11 in interleague play. But they are playing 4-6 baseball over their last 10. Not great considering they're 11 games under 500, but playing a little bit better recently. Not good against the interleague again, 4-11. And the Astros, they're going to be taking on the Chicago Cubs, where they're 5-4 in their last 9 versus the Cubs. Very interesting. 6 over, 3 under in the last 9 meetings with the Cubs. In those games, the Astros are averaging 4.22 runs per game to 4.77 for the Cubs. That comes out to 9 runs per game average. Okay, if we look at the Astros this year, on the road, during day games, they are 5-8. So in 13-day road games this year for the Astros, they're 5-8. 7 over, 6 under. They're scoring 4 runs a game to 4.92 for their opponents. That comes out to an 8.92 runs per game average for the Astros road day games this year. Now, if you look at the Astros' last 9, 4-5 in their last 9, 4 over, 5 under. They're only scoring 2.33 runs per game to 4.55 runs per game for their opponent. That comes out to 6.88 runs per game average, and the run differential there is 21 runs to 41 for their opponent in the Astros' last 9 overall. Versus the American League this year, they're 4-11. I mean, the Astros have been swept by the Colorado Rockies and the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, when you get swept by the Colorado Rockies, you're probably thinking about getting rid of the manager at that point. From that point forward, the manager has to be looked at side-eyed. You're kind of looking at them in the lunch cafeteria area. You know, there's something, you know, that we want to investigate when we talk about getting swept by the Rockies. So that was bad. Got swept by the Colorado Rockies and the Cardinals. And in 15 games versus the National League this year, the Astros are scoring 3.53 runs per game, and their opponents are averaging 5.66 runs per game, being outscored 85-53 in the run differential department versus the National League this year, and the average score coming in at about 9.19 runs per game average. So, not looking really great over their last 9, even though they're 4-5. You're only scoring 2.33 runs per game in that time, and you're being outscored 21-41. And then you're 4-11 versus the National League this year. Not really good, but you're scoring a little bit more. You're scoring about a run plus more versus the National League. So something to keep in mind. Let's look at the situational part of this gap. The Astros will be going from city to city on the road with 1 day off. So they're on a road trip. They have a day off, and then they're going to they're going to resume the road trip at the Cubs today. So in that situational split, the Astros are 3-2 in their last 5, 4 over, 1 under. In those games, the Astros are averaging 6.8 runs per game to 4.8 for their opponents. Comes in at an 11.6 runs per game average. So dating back to last year, city to city with 1 day off in between, Astros 3-2 rather, and 4 over and 1 under in those games, scoring 6.8 runs per game. So in that situational split, last 5, not a big sample size, but it gives you an idea of what this team and this organization does. They seem to be locked in when they do get that day off and they're on the road. A little bit more focused. You're not around family. Okay, now we look at who's going to be on the mound, and it is going to be Spencer Arrighetti, and the Astros are 4-1 in his last 5 starts, and the Astros are 5-1 overall in his starts this year. So something to keep in mind there when we're capping this. So Arrighetti, the Astros are 4-1 in Arrighetti's last 5 starts, 3 over, 2 under. In those last 5 games, 30 innings pitched, 19 hits, 5 earned runs, 17 walks, 1 home run, and 25 Ks. Strikeouts, that comes out to a 1.50 ERA, 1.20 whip, and he's striking out 7.5 batters per 9 in that situation. So, looking pretty good, right? Now, he is going to be on 6 days rest, where the Astros are 0-4 all time when Spencer Arrighetti pitches on 6 days rest. Okay? And in those games, there have been 16 innings pitched, 18 hits, 10 earned runs, 11 walks, 20 strikeouts, 2 home runs. Comes out to a 5.62 ERA, 1.81 WHIP, and a 1.12 home run per 9 for Spencer Arrighetti when he pitches on 6 days rest in his career. So a lot of those splits were back in 2023. And, you know, you look at his last 5, the Astros are pitching. I mean, they're winning for him. They're finding ways to win. They are 4-1, like I said, in Arrighetti's last 5 starts, and they're 5-1, the Astros, in Arrighetti starts this year. But on 6 days rest, he looks like he's having a little bit of trouble. But again, that split is going back to, you know, those 4 games are going back to like 2023 with a couple of those games. So something to keep in mind there. And if you look at that side of the cap for the Astros, not bad road day games, 5-8. They're scoring 4 runs a game. But in their last 9, it's a little concerning. 2.33 runs per game average, and they're 8-17 on the road. Couple of the highlights there for the Astros as we get into the Cubs part of the cap. And by the way, the Cubs are minus 142 in this game, and the Astros are coming back at plus 120. If my memory serves me right, I believe that implied probability is 45% on a plus 120. Little teaching moment for Wager Detective here. Let's do this. So define the implied probability at a plus 120. You're going to take 100 divided by 100 plus 120. And yeah, so that's 45.5% chance the books are giving the Astros today. And I think there's a little bit of value in that, because as we get into this cap, I think this is more of a 50-50 type of situation, if you ask me. So let's get back to the cap. As we look at this. Okay, now let's look at the Chicago Cubs. Chicago Cubs, 29-21 on the year, but in their last 10, they are 2-8. They are 9-3 in one-run games, and they're 7-8 in interleague play. So, if you look at the one-run game aspect, they're 9-3. The Astros 4-2. So both teams, they can play well in games that are one-run games. So something to keep in mind there. Now, if we look at the Cubs' home day games this year, they are 11-4, 10 over, 5 under in those games. They're scoring 5.53 runs per game to 3.86 for their opponent in their 15 home day games this year, with a run differential of 83-58. That total runs comes out to 9.39 runs per game in the Cubs' 15 home day games this year. In those 15 home day games for the Cubs this year, they scored 5+ 8 times. Their opponents have scored 2 or less 6 times. So we said the Astros, when we try to parallel that to what they're giving up, they've given up 2 runs or less 6 times in 15 home day games for the Cubs this year. And the Astros are scoring 2.33 runs per game over their last 9. So you kind of want to gauge, is that going to be the same kind of play? I don't necessarily think so as we get into this cap. I already kind of got this game pegged for a certain way, and we'll see how this rest of this cap plays out. Now, if we look at the Astros, so 11-4 in home day games, very good, scoring 5.53 runs per game. We know that the Astros are scoring 2.33 over their last 9 games. And the Astros are scoring 3.53 against the American League this year in 15 games. So, now, we get into what the Cubs have done in their last 9, and they're 2-7. 2-7, going through a rough stretch here. 4 over, 5 under in those last 9 games for the Cubs. And keep in mind, the over-under for this game is set at 7.5. So, something to keep in mind there. And what else are we going to talk about here? Let's now the situational part of this cap, and the last 2 games for the Cubs have gone over have gone under the total that's set today at 7.5. So 2 straight under games for the Cubs in their last 2 games, and 4 over, 5 under in their last 9. So something to keep in mind as far as, you know, are things going to pick up, or is it going to, are we going to have another under here? Now, the situational part of this split is the fact that the Cubs have 1 day off between home series. And in those settings over their last 6, dating back to last year, they are 5-1 in that setting. So the Cubs, 5-1 in their last 6 home-to-home series with 1 day off in between. In that first game back after that day off, they're 5-1. So, and in that split, they're averaging 7.66 runs per game to 4.55. That comes out to a 12.16 per game runs per game average. So, it's given, if you've gone through this cap, the only thing that could hold you up to thinking this game's not going to go over is how the Astros have scored in their last 9. But I think that changes here as we get into this pitching that we're going to talk about right now. And on the mound for the Cubs today is going to be Jamison Taillon. And in Jamison Taillon's last 5 starts, the Cubs are only 2-3. They lost 2 straight Taillon starts. Both those games were on the road. Something to keep in mind there. And just not looking good, right? So in Taillon's last 5 outings, Cubs are scoring 3.4 runs a game to 4.2 for their opponents. That comes out to 7.6. In Taillon's last 5 outings, he's pitched 28 innings, given up 24 hits, 18 earned runs, 5 walks, 21 Ks, and get this, guys, in his last 5 outings, he has given up 10 home runs. 5 of those were in his last outing against his crosstown rivals, the Chicago White Sox. So he's coming into this game, 5 days rest, got absolutely shelled for 5 home runs, and he's given up another 5 throughout his last 5 games. That comes out to a 5.79 ERA, 1.14 WHIP, 6.75 home runs per 9 innings. 3.21 home runs per 9 innings, and he's striking out only 6.75 batters per 9 over his last 5. So Cubs 2-3 in their last 5 in Taillon starts. Cubs have lost the last 2 Taillon starts. Taillon last 5 outings, 5.79 ERA, 1.14 WHIP, 6.75 Ks per 9, and he's given up 3.21 home runs per 9 over his last 5 outings. Now, on 5 days rest this year, the Cubs are 2-1. In 16 innings pitched, he's given up 17 hits, 14 earned runs, 5 walks, 8 home runs, and 11 strikeouts. And he has 11 strikeouts. So on 5 days rest this year, the Cubs are 2-1. But in those games, Taillon has a 7.87 ERA, a 1.38 WHIP, and he's given up 6.18 home runs per 9 over his 3 starts this year on 5 days rest. So if we look at Taillon, the Cubs 3-2, but they're giving up a ton of runs. I mean, his ERA is just through the roof here. I mean, 18 earned runs in 28 innings pitched in his last 5 outings. And then he's giving up 14 earned runs in 16 innings pitched on 5 days rest. And then you think about the Astros, and they're only scoring 2.33 runs a game. I don't know if it doesn't favor the Astros to kind of break out of what they're doing and kind of get into back to being a team. They are 5-4 in their last 9 versus the Cubs. They're scoring 4.22 runs per game in those games. And we know that Taillon is having a home run problem. Teams are seeing him well. Arrighetti over his last 5 has a 1.50 ERA, 1.20 WHIP. He's not giving up home runs like Taillon is. Arrighetti's only given up 1 home run in his last 30 innings pitched. Maybe not as good on 6 days rest as we said, where the Astros are 0-4 and 1 over, 3 under in those games. If you look at the way Taillon's playing, public is going to see that maybe the Cubs at a minus 142 is worth taking a shot on, and maybe they get back on track here. But I don't necessarily know with the way Taillon has pitched this year and the way he's pitching on 5 days rest and so forth. So, I mean, when you break that all down, and then if we look at what Taillon has done against the Cubs, He is 4-4. Or no, Taillon against the Astros, excuse me. In his last 3 starts versus the Astros, 15 innings pitched, 19 hits, 7 earned runs, a home run, 4 walks, a 9K. That comes out to a 4.2 ERA, 1.53 WHIP, and he's only striking out 5.4 batters per 9 in his last 3 starts versus the Astros. That's something to keep in mind. I mean, it's really something to keep in mind when you think about it. Now, in those games against the Astros, 1 is going over and 2 is going under the total that's set today. And then we look at the one final thing before I make my decision, my conclusion on this riddle is the Cubs in Taillon's last 8 starts in May, the Cubs are 4-4. 4 over, 4 under. So the Cubs, 4-4 in Taillon's last 8 May starts, 4 over, 4 under in those games, 45.1 innings pitched, 41 hits, 23 earned runs, 17 home runs, and 9 walks. So in Taillon's last 8 games pitched in May, the Cubs are 4-4, and Taillon has a 4.56 ERA, a 1.10 WHIP, and a 3.37 home runs per 9 in his last 8 May starts. Guys, if you're going to ask me, I look at this lineup that's on the screen right now, and guys, you got absolute studs at the top of that lineup. Don't be surprised if Alvarez goes yard. Don't be surprised if Pena goes yard. Don't be surprised if Walker goes yard. I mean, listen, I think this game, if you ask me, I think this game goes over 7. Now, you always are going to look to regression to the mean. People are going to see what's happened to Taillon in his last outing. The books are expecting these guys to shove. RotoWire says 7 runs. I mean, did that drop? Let's take a look. I mean, let's take a look and see what it is. Okay, Major League Baseball, 221 action, and it's down to 7. So, are you telling me that there's winds blowing in? 15 mile per hour, as you see there at the bottom. 15 mile per hour winds in. So, maybe it's not the over. Okay, maybe we got to take that into consideration. And Arrighetti doesn't give up home runs. And the way the wind's blowing in, is it possible that even Alvarez, with his super power strengths, can get a ball over the fence? Listen, guys, at the end of the day, I think the value is with the Astros today. I think you're getting tremendous value, and I think people will be on the Cubs. Maybe not. Maybe people will let the recency bias set in, and maybe say, listen, we don't want, we think Taillon could come back. I don't know. I mean, you look at their lineup. I mean, the Cubs definitely got a lineup that is to be feared. But I think with the value that we're getting, Thank you for watching this video. This is Wager Detective. I love all my fans, and let's go Astros.